So here's the real mystery. How do real MLMers like us, who didn't cheat and only bug family members and friends, who want to grow a profitable home business, how do we recruit A players into our downlines and create extra incomes, yet still have plenty of time for the rest of our lives? That's the blaring question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Steve Larson, and welcome to Secret MLM Hacks Radio. What's going on, Secret MLM Hacks Radio? It feels so good to say that. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this episode. I want to share with you guys something kind of cool. We just did this big. Since I was not really doing the show for a little while, in that time, I went and I built this studio that cost me almost $1 million to build. And the reason that I did it is because I had spent already almost $1 million just doing events. Events are amazing, I live here in Boise, Idaho. And so we would go downtown and we would rent we'd rent the Boise Center and we'd get a huge AV team in there, and then load everything up with swag, and you had to pay for the insurance. And the biggest event that I've ever thrown in person had 650 people at it. And, big event. And it cost me $250,000 to go do. And almost. It's $233,000. Now, because I'm a funnel builder and because I know how to break even on the front end on customer acquisition, I actually stood on stage at that event. That was in 2019. I actually stood on stage, got up there, and I was already at break even, right? Which is awesome. And is frankly mind-numbing to most other event throwers. It's one of the reasons why I'm so, effective with network marketing as well, is I can break even at customer acquisition on the front end, but still be able to do things like ads, which that's also what makes everything just take off and sing really quickly. So anyway, there's a point to this. So after that event, I was like, holy smokes, and I had done several events. I was like, I've dropped about $1 million. It's about a year after that. I was like, oh my gosh, I spent a lot of money on events. And that's when I was like, all right, let's go build our own event center. An event center is a strong word for it. I built an event studio, as I call it. It seats 100 people. We can stream to thousands at the same time, so I can have a hybrid audience, like an audience in person and virtual at the same time. And then we set it up in a really cool way where I have a comments screen, so I can still see everyone's live comments coming in and talk to them. Or let's say Susie Q is on on Zoom, I can take Susie Q's face and put it on the massive screen behind me, which is actually a highway billboard. I had a Hollywood set designer come in and build it. I told him exactly what I wanted, and I was shocked he actually did it. Anyway, there's a point to this. So we just did a big event. I did my 31st event. I've been doing a lot of events since talking with you guys and being on this show and all that stuff. Done a lot of events. I got my content cleaned up even more since doing Secret MLM Hacks and Modern Downline and all the things that I did, the MLM funnel, all that stuff. And it's been a really cool and interesting journey. Really interesting journey. Well, last week Marley and I we just got engaged. First off, it's very exciting. We've been together for 4 years, and I was like, time to get married. I want to get married. We were together a while, and I was finally like, all right, we're basically married. Let's just get married. So anyway, we've also decided that she and I were kind of combining businesses in a lot of ways. Not everything, but half of our stuff, because it's just super similar. But we also have different strengths for the marketplace. So we felt like we were building similar program structure with just slightly different guts, but the insides were actually very complementary to each other. So anyway, so it's been really, really fun. So we just did an event last week at my studio on branding and how to build personal and business brands. How do you do that in a way that how do you do that in a way where you're not just building a pretty icon, because that's not really brand. All right, and so part of what we were helping them do is we helped them develop their brand, but then also the point of the event was to help them see how to use their brand to cash flow and create extra money in their life. And so we started talking about how, you produce content and the strategies for getting yourself interviewed on other people's stuff and getting shout outs and working with influencers. And it's not as hard as people think, but there's a little leg work, but it's not as hard as people think to go do all that. And so we were going through and teaching all that stuff, and inevitably we were asked this question that we're just asked all the time. And it's one that I've actually had also from the network marketing MLM space. So I thought I would bring it up, and I thought I'd talk about it right here. The question is, I'm always shocked by this. In fact, I think we got it last week, but then, or at least people wanted us to talk about it. Then 2 weeks ago, I had the same. I'm always just blown away at how many people don't understand this. And so, let's talk about it for a second, right? Podcast and YouTube are not like blogs. Let me explain that. So the first time someone ever asked this to me, I think I don't remember what I was doing. I don't remember. Let me just get to the point. Anyway, a gentleman asked, how do I get people to see my podcast? Or how do I get people to see my YouTube? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, how do I drive traffic to it? And I was like, I actually have never paid traffic to grow any of my shows or podcasts or YouTube. And it made his brain flip. I mean, it was like a total syntax error in his head. And you might be asking how do I get people to see my stuff? And there's two parts to the answer. It's not two different answers. There's two parts to the answer. First of all, podcast, first of all, you understand the platform. Do you know that YouTube has 2 billion hits a month? Just the platform YouTube. And it's increasing like crazy. All right. That was the last stats I looked up, and that was a couple of years ago. 2 billion hits every single month. Now, when you are playing inside of a river that is that big and traffic is already going through it, it's a lot easier to go get traffic because there's already traffic in it, right? There's already traffic there. One of the biggest misconceptions that people who are kind of never used if you're trying to forget to use the internet for recruiting or selling your product or things like that, that's why I'm talking about this, okay? Recognize that you don't create traffic. Traffic is already there. Does that make sense? I'm hoping you're picking up what I'm putting down on this. There's more traffic on the internet than when you first started listening to this episode. Traffic is increasing at an increasing rate. You're not creating traffic, you're capturing it. You're stepping into existing traffic. You don't sit down and be like, I better go create some traffic for my product. I better go create some traffic for my front end or whatever, right? That's not how it works. And a lot of times I'll see people go create their own little info product or whatever, and they're doing it to go capture and collect leads for network marketing or their product or recruiting, whatever. And one of the biggest places where they start to lose the game is literally just the way they think about the internet. And they're like, all right, I created this product. Now I got to go get traffic for it. And it's that's the wrong question to ask. What you should be asking is, how do I step into the traffic that already exists? And when you think of it like that, traffic is a freaking breeze. Traffic's not a hard formula to go figure out because it's already there, right? So that's the first thing to understand with it, is that there's no such thing as a traffic shortage. There's no such thing as a traffic shortage. Okay, when someone says this is not an uncommon thing for people to say to me, people say, Stephen, I'm having a traffic problem. And I immediately know they first off are probably not thinking about the internet as a whole in the right context. Most of them are thinking that they need to go it's almost like a mentality that they have to go create traffic from scratch. Now, you can do that. Very few people figure it out. It's easy. Instead, be like, well, where is the traffic already, and how can I just step into the center of it? Like, think about YouTube and I'm not saying that you have to be a YouTuber to be successful, all right? So just, if you're like, Steve's answer is I have to make YouTube videos. No. I'm just using it as an analogy that you look at these platforms differently, right? The platform being an existing traffic source. Like it's already a river. Think about YouTube like the Mississippi River, right? Or the Nile River, like this gigantic river that is kind of like never ending, always going to be there, kind of like it would take a lot of years and a lot of time and a lot of scenarios to actually make the YouTube river source dry up, right? And I'm sure at some point it'll happen, at some point in human history, maybe, like, you know, it's going to be a lot, not in our lifetimes, you know, it's something I always like to point out, and I've pointed out several times, is that recognize that traffic, the internet, like the whole world's not even on the internet, you know, and most can't stream, like they don't have streaming speeds, right? Of like, what, 8 billion people on the planet or whatever, I think the stats are that there's like 5 billion with access to the internet. Like the whole world's not even on the internet. And so it's funny because people will ask them, is the internet too saturated? Okay, no. First of all, you want saturation. Second of all, it's actually a blessing and a gift. And no, it's not too saturated because we're not even all on it yet, right? Like if you think about human evolution, in fact, I was just dropping my daughters off at school. That's why I'm in the car as I record this. But I was talking to my girls about, they're like, how do we know what year it is? And I was like, well, you know, it's the time of Christ, and then, you know, we call it AD and BC. And I was telling them all that. They're like, holy cow, like that's interesting. You know, you remember that when that like first clicked for you and you realized it's 2025 since what? Right? And that's kind of what my girls were asking. And I was like, well, you know, and I explained it all to them. But you think about how many thousands of years of human evolution is at least documented and, you know, recorded. And the first like human documentation is like 6,000 BC or something like that, right? It's like even earlier, right? I mean, we've been around a while, you know, at least since documenting things. The internet has only been around for 30 years. Publicly. It's only been publicly available since 1991. What? You mean this thing's only been publicly available for 34 years? What are the chances that in 34 years, the whole world, all of humanity in current existence, has access to the internet, knows exactly how to use it? Right? Like, that's barely one full generation. Right? As far as they measure it, like 20-ish years, right? like think about that. Like, I'm that last generation that didn't grow up with a smartphone. I got one when I was 25, thankfully. I'm so glad I did not get a smartphone. Oh, aren't you glad I didn't grow up with this crap? Oh my gosh. Just what it's done to people. Anyway, but so my point is like, we as a humanity is still figuring out how to use the internet. We're still trying to figure it out. And we're still trying to figure out how to use it for business. There's no such thing as a traffic issue. And if you've been thinking that, or if you're like, I have a leads problem, you might have a leads problem, but don't blame the internet for your leads problem. It's increasing at an increasing rate. It's compounding at a compounding rate. The amount of users, the amount of visits, right? So first of all, realize that traffic is easy. What people are having a hard time with is understanding how these things all use. So let me get back to the original question. The original question being, hey, how do I get people to see, right? I'm going to tie it all in a nice little bow here in a second, so stick with me. But people asking, how do I get traffic to my page? How do I get traffic to my to my YouTube, or let me stick with YouTube and like podcast. Let's just stay with those two platforms as the example. So I have never sent traffic I've never purchased traffic to Secret MLM Hacks Radio or Sales Funnel Radio or my YouTube channels, and it's funny because I am always still shocked about how many people are like, well, how do you get people to see it? It's a valid question. But not when you understand the internet. Okay, YouTube is a search engine. Podcasting is also, like, all they're doing is, like, I let people find this organically. They just find it organically. Now, not all things are like that, and I think that's what gets people confused. So, there's a two-part answer to this question. The first part of the answer is to recognize that when you make something like a podcast or a YouTube or one of those, you play on one of those platforms that has like millions of daily visits. First off, that's how people are finding it. I don't know how many searches are happening every single day, but it's a seriously massive amount of them. I'm not trying. I'm not promoting each one of these episodes. I just put it on the platform, and then people on the platform find it. That's the answer of part one, right? Or that's the first part of the answer. The second part of the answer is you want to be creating content that is related to or standing directly in the middle of what people are looking up. That's how they find it, right? So put your content, by virtue of the platform, that's how people are finding it already, right? So go create content and put your content together in a way that you can dump it on platforms where there's already millions of people all over the place daily just clicking and listening and searching, and it's SEO, baby, right? But I'm not doing any kind of SEO on it. I just make stuff that I know people are looking up, which is part two. So ask yourself, what is it that people are looking up that has to do with your network marketing business? I don't like to make stuff that's specifically about a network marketing company because it means they already have to know about the network marketing company. So that's not what I go create. I create things that are a little bit more broad. How do I get traffic to my network marketing product? Watch, I'll probably name this podcast that, and people will look it up, right? What's really fun about creating content is you actually get a different type of visit to your page than if you created what we call interruption marketing. So what I'm doing right now is something called search marketing, right? Or search marketing, or like earned is another word for it. Meaning when somebody comes and listens to my podcast or looks up a YouTube video, they are looking up the podcast. They are looking up the topic of, right? They're not looking up the show. They're looking up the podcast that I created. They're not looking up my YouTube channel. They're looking up whatever my YouTube video was about. I'm always blown away how many people don't get this. So like if you don't understand this, it's probably the square one reason why you don't get traffic to your stuff. Like, it's helpful to even like draw out a diagram. And the way that I'll do it sometimes is with like a river. I'll literally draw a river, and then I just like, this is the YouTube river. All right, on the left side of my page, and on the right side of my page, like if you turn the page like horizontal, turn your page landscape. All right, the left side, draw a river that kind of goes diagonally from the bottom to the top. And then on the right side, draw whatever your web page is, or your funnel, hopefully. And then how do you get the river to the page on the right? Right? How do you get the traffic river on the left to your static website / funnel on the right side of the page? Well, you do that. What bridges the gap is a podcast episode, is YouTube, is a blog, right? It's ranking things. It's making it so that, think of it like taking a shovel and you're going to stand on the edge of the river and start just digging, not even deeply, right? you're just going to start digging a little stream that goes from the Mississippi River to your front page, right? And what crosses that gap is your podcast episode or YouTube, or a blog. Things that have a lot of high volume already. Now, if you don't do that, there's other ways to go get traffic, right? You don't have to be a content producer to go get traffic. It's a way. It's not the only method. You could purchase traffic. I do not recommend this route, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, it's gambling. If you have no idea if your messaging is accurate, it's gambling, right? It's not. I almost never run to traffic first. The first thing, in fact, I can think of like 2 times in 10 years where I've actually just turned ads on instead of tested message with organic methods. There's a really famous quote in our space anyway, from a guy named Albert Lasker in the mid-1950s. Albert Lasker was the guy that invented orange juice to save the company Sunkist. Well, he named it Sunkist. This company had way too many oranges. They were cutting down their own orange trees because they had so much surplus of oranges. And they're like, this is going to kill our company because we have nowhere to put these oranges and we have to chop down our own orange trees, but we're an orange company. And so Albert Lasker came in and he was like, we'll be back in a little bit. And his firm went out and they created like that ribbed orange press that most of you probably have in your kitchen. It's like you cut it in half and you squish it down on and there's like the little holes in the bottom. Albert Lasker invented that with his firm and came out with this offer really quickly and told everybody, hey, come buy this new orange juice press for 10 cents and you'll get a bundle of oranges for free. And it saved the company Sunkist and all of now the company's called Sunkist. It was called like California something. I don't know. I can't remember the name of whatever it was. Anyway, so Albert Lasker invented orange juice to save the newly named company Sunkist, and that's why he invented the ad, drink an orange every day. Which they still drink your daily orange. Well, what's funny about that is it takes like 3 oranges to fill a glass of orange juice. So what they did is they got everyone to consume more oranges per capita, right? Instead of 1, it went to like 3. Right? That's kind of how it happened. And anyway, he has this. So he's a famous marketer, early to mid 1900s, and he has this really interesting quote. And he says, like, really listen to this, because so many people like rush to ads, or they think that in order to make it on the internet, network marketing, whatever, you have to use paid advertising. It's just not the case, and in fact it's actually not smart out of the gates. What Albert Lasker says, his quote is, he says the product that will not sell profitably without advertising will not sell profitably with advertising. That's a good quote. The product that will not sell profitably without advertising will not sell profitably with advertising. Meaning, you have to realize that ads are not the fire. They're the gas on the fire. If you can't get something to work with organic messaging, why would you go spend money on ads? If you can't get something to work with organic messaging and figure out how to tap into the existing traffic sources that are already all around you without spending money on ads, why would you go spend money on ads? Ads are not an answer. They're an accelerant, right? They're not the fire. They're the gas on the fire. What the fire is messaging. It's learning how to tap into the existing traffic sources that are all around. And it's so funny how many people are like, I need to go start doing internet marketing to grow my network marketing business. And like, yeah, sweet. But the way they do that is they're like, that means I have to do Facebook ads. No! Don't you dare. Don't you dare. What you're going to go do is you're going to figure out how to speak in a specific way that organically gets people on YouTube and podcasts and all the traffic sources that are already all around you to go and say, what do you got? And just look at you and start raising their hand. I didn't say go belly to belly. That's what network marketing tells us to go do. I don't want to do that. I don't do that. Okay. What I do is I create stuff that makes people go, huh? and just look in my direction. And if I can't even get people to do that, why on earth would I go spend money on ads? I'm only going to accelerate crap, right? All ads do is accelerate eyeballs, right? So I'm going to accelerate eyeballs to messaging I've not proved out yet. I'm going to accelerate messaging to a scenario that I don't have confidence in yet. There was this guy. Oh my gosh. I was on stage and this guy was like, when are the ads going to start working? And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, like, when are they going to start working? I said, well, tell me what, like, give me a little more here. He goes, we've been spending money on ads. And nothing has come from it yet. And I said, whoa, ads are not an investment. If you put money in some ads and you're not making money back out like within a day or two, turn off the ads. And he's like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. This is direct response marketing. Meaning I need to measure the direct response of those ads. So if they're not an investment, it's not like you put money in ads and then you turn around and go, well, that'll pay off in a year. No. And he was like, are you kidding me? I was like, no. How much have you spent on ads? And the dude got really quiet. And he goes, we've put $240,000 into ads. And I was like, the whole room, there was a combination of gasps, horror, and I was like, and just, I didn't even know what to say. I was like, whoa, why did you spend that much money on ads? And he goes, well, we thought it was like, people think of it like a savings account. Well, you make more the more you put in. No. Paid ads is a direct response tool, which means you should get direct response, meaning if I put a dollar in an ad, people are going to see your ad like that day, and if they're not coming in and like within that 2 or 3 days, it means the ad is wrong. Turn off the ad. It means your messaging is wrong. Your funnel, something is wrong. It is not an investment. It's a direct response tool, right? And so, oh my gosh, I'm saying that because, man, I can't believe the number of people that I've heard similar scenarios from. When are the ads going to start working? And I'm just like, do you have any clue what you're doing at all? If you cannot get traffic from organic methods, don't you dare go do stuff with paid advertising. That's like flying an F-16, okay? And there's going to be a lot more bells and whistles, and there's so much more stuff to go be looking at. There's more, right? That's far more of a skilled pilot than someone who's flying, Spirit Airlines, and they got a few buttons to press, and it kind of just flies itself. You know what I mean? A fighter jet versus a prop plane is kind of like, please, for the love, start with the prop plane. Start with the prop plane, right? So anyway, I know I'm harping on this, but I won't let off that pedal because I can't believe how many people have they just spend money on ads. And it's like the first thing they do. If you can't get it to convert with organic messaging, don't you dare go spend money on advertising, right? Albert Lasker, the product that will not sell profitably without ads is not going to sell profitably with ads. All it does is accelerate eyeballs, right? Ads collapse time. That's all they do. They collapse the number of eyeballs. It just brings in people faster. If your messaging is not going to work, anyway, I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again. But just to give you some proof of this, okay? When I was working at ClickFunnels, we didn't spend money on advertising for the first 2 years. All right, we grew it with organic methods. I think until there was about 10 to 12,000 monthly subscribers. So it's like, do the math on that. Right, their baseline was $97 a month. So they had a $297 a month as well, and they had 10 to 12,000 users. That's about the time I got there when they started using ads, and they didn't really know what they were doing. They were just like trying stuff, testing it out. Organically, they grew it that much. Well, how'd they go do that, Stephen? Well, that's the right question to ask, right? That's why there's only been a single scenario I've ever spent money on ads for network marketing stuff. And it's after, even when I left my job, I didn't spend any money on advertising for the first 3 months. And the only reason I felt comfortable doing so is because I had already generated 150 to 200 grand. And then I took some of that money and go put it in ads. You know what I mean? I've never have spent my own money on advertising ever. It's always come because of it's always come because I've been able to go generate sales organically, and then I take a portion of that cash and then go dump it on it. It's never come out of my own pocket. It's never come out ever in 10 years. And so I'm always just like shocked at how many people have asked. Like, what really happened is 2 weeks ago, I was doing a YouTube live and the person was like, how am I going to get this link when it's over? And I was like, it's a YouTube live. So like, as soon as I stop being live, it's already on YouTube. Like already, like, how am I going to get to it? It's on YouTube, right? But it's not an uncommon question. When those questions first started coming in, I remember when Facebook Live first became a thing. I got started in the era where none of that stuff existed. You couldn't stream, Periscope was the thing, kind of. Like, I got started, like, people were still using forums. You know what I mean? I've been doing this game long enough to see several platform shifts and iterations. And, which is important to know, because I think it helps bring context to a lot of these tools to recognize what they are and are not, right? And this, I remember like, people would ask, all right, this is a Facebook Live, but how do I get to it once it's done? If I don't see when it's live, like, I'm not going to be able to see it. I was like, it's a Facebook Live. As soon as you stop being live, it's automatically on Facebook as a post. How am I going to see it? By going to my profile and watching it. People just don't get it. And I was getting those questions 8 years ago when Facebook Live became a thing. And I thought that most of those questions were going to end back in that time. I am still getting them. And I'm not making fun of those people. I'm merely pointing out the fact that most people still don't know how to use the internet, much less are on it. Right? And so there is no such thing as a traffic problem. There is no such thing as a traffic problem. There never will be. If you learn how to use these platforms, there's no such thing as a traffic problem. What you have is you have a messaging problem. Okay? Traffic is everywhere. The way that you get people to get from the river that exists to the pages you're trying to get them to, that's what a marketer does. What time I post on Facebook is what matters. That's not what matters. That's not what matters. I'm not saying there's no strategic advantage to learning that stuff. Sure. Those are tactics, not marketing. Marketing is primarily messaging, and we measure that messaging in leads. Don't you dare measure marketing with comments. This is how many comments this video got, therefore that was a good video. We don't measure marketing in likes. This many people liked it, therefore that was good marketing. Why would you measure marketing in engagement? Okay, you don't measure marketing in shares. Those are cool metrics, but it's not marketing. The only thing marketing is, I am literally co-authoring a book with Russell Brunson over my next sentence. Okay, because so many people just check this up. The book Dramatic Demonstrations that I'm writing right now, co-authoring with Russell Brunson, is on all this research that I did for 5 or 6 years on rich dead marketers because they didn't have the internet. And you know what I learned after all that research? There's no such thing as internet marketing. We have marketing and we have the internet. We shouldn't smash those two words together. We create marketing and we use the internet to distribute it. That's all it is. The internet is this gigantic distribution channel. I'm going to distribute the marketing. That's all it is. So people, they get too like zoomed in, right? So here it is. The only way to measure marketing is in lead flow. That's it. If marketing doesn't produce leads, it wasn't marketing. It's marketing's job. Now, if you want proof of this, think back to when I used to have like 12 people on a sales floor. Guess what they were always asking me for more of? It's the same thing that your upline is always asking you for more of. Leads. Right? Leads. And in the traditional network marketing MLM models, like, you are really just like when they say open up your contacts and write down the people that you think would be interested, and right, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does work, right? Whole network market, but the internet's here. You don't have to do that stuff anymore. There's a better river called the internet. You don't have to be doing that crap, which is why I don't and won't and refuse to. And I've even had people in my upline say, "When are you going to go do that?" And I'm like, "No." That's the answer. I'm not going to ever go do that because we have this thing called the internet, and there's people out there who actually want to be in my downline without me actually going and trying to trick them into it, right? Anyway, I'm getting off topic just a little bit here, but I get so pissed off about this whole thing because the traffic source matters, right? And the best way to get traffic is to go to the rivers that already exist and learn the messaging that results in lead flow. And a lead is somebody who comes to you of their own choosing and says, "Tell me more." That's it. That's all marketing is. Again, it's not likes, comments, subscribes, channel size, right? Follower count. Those are ways that we measure social media. And I'm not saying they're not important, but it's not marketing. All right. How do I get people to listen to my podcast? Talk about stuff that people want to hear about. Put it on platforms that are already gigantic with the amount of people that they bring in. That's it. That's the answer. Now just multiply times patience and time and a little bit of skill doing that. When I left my job, I had 2,000 people on my network marketing email list. Guess where they came from? This podcast. All I did is I talked about the hot topics in network marketing. I put them on podcasts and I waited. And every once in a while on my podcast, I would say, if you're liking this, go to, secretmlmhacksradio.com. Put your email in. I've got a cool freebie for you. Does that make sense? That's it. And after a while, someone goes along and Joe Schmo is like, "Hey, I want to learn how to do some more stuff in network marketing." And so they're looking around, they're searching around. And this is before things were as indexed and SEO'd as they are now also. And so someone goes and looks for a podcast and they're listening to the podcast, and which means they have a lot of intent. I'm not just interrupting him and saying, "You want to learn about this thing?" They're looking for it. So it's already a higher quality person and lead, and there we go. They heard the episode. They're like, "Oh, this dude's probably got some stuff that might be kind of good." And then they go on over to secretmlmhacksradio.com, put their email in, and they get my free 5-day video series on how to train your downline on internet strategy. Which, by the way, you can go to secretmlmhacksradio.com and get a brand new. I just put it together last night. Actually, it's brand new. I wanted to update it for you guys and for the show because it's been around for so long. secretmlmhacksradio.com. If you go there, it's a completely different and updated. I finished it literally last night. What it is, though, it's the 5-day series that walks people through. It used to be something called MLM Masters Pack, and that was good. That was a good video series, but literally it was so old. I had hair on my head and not a beard, and that was like 13 years ago. I look like a little boy. I hit puberty really late in life. And even later, it just looked like I was just this little kid. I mean, if you hold up pictures of me, even back when I made that video series to me right now, I look at it and I'm like, did I just literally stop developing when I hit like 29 or something? Like, I'm 36 right now. And I don't know. I made that thing. I was just this little, and I didn't know how to speak. Since then, since making MLM Masters Pack, the first version of it, I've been on probably 400 stages. I've done probably 300 interviews on other people's shows. I've learned how to talk. I was really hypey back then because I thought that energy meant value, and I thought volume meant value. And so I would say a lot of fluff, and I didn't know what but I was just taking shots, whatever. I have a lot of respect for people just step up to the plate. Anyway, my point, if you want to learn more about this stuff, you want to learn more about what I'm talking about, and I'm very visual. I draw a lot. There's in that free video series. I made that video series probably like 3 years ago, something like that. maybe 4, but it's super relevant. It's super awesome. It's still exactly what I go do to grow my list in the network marketing space. Go to secretmlmhacksradio.com. It'll have you opt in. Someone was pissed off once that I had them opt in. I'm going to have you opt in. And the reason is because that's what you pay me. Right? I spent $8,000 developing the free video series that you guys are going to go watch for free. And so the exchange of value here that I ask is for your email address. I'll send you some stuff if I have it every once in a while, but I'm not going to spam you. But it is also how the email series drips out to you over 5 days. So that's the exchange that I put out there. And if you don't want that, that's totally fine. No pressure at all. Anyway, you guys are amazing. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. If you guys could rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you listen to, that'd be amazing. I do spend quite a bit to get this in front of you, but I will not hold anything back. This is my favorite way to produce content is with voice-based podcasts. I will every once in a while be producing it in my car as I drive an hour and a half every morning to drop kids off at school in different schools, which is what I do. So sometimes it's just the best platform. You might hear clickers and turn signals and all this stuff in the back every once in a while, or my seatbelt or whatever, but it's still some good crap. And you guys are amazing. I do want to do at some point another network marketing event, live event in my studio. Last one I did was 4 years ago, so it would be really fun to go do one again with you guys and teach you kind of these updated methods. Currently right now, so I grew a downline to 1,400 people without really talking to anybody, pretty much exclusively using funnels. And I know there's people who've had, they're like, I got 10,000 or millions of people. And I'm like, sweet. I did this though, like on the side of my real business. Like I'm not, I hate the term side hustle because I think it cheapens and bastardizes. It's like side hustle results in side hustle levels of money. So no money, right? You got to treat it like a real business. But I did build my last downline, I kind of forgot it existed, and I logged in one day and I was like, holy crap, there's 1,100 people in here. Then I forgot about it again. Like, oh my gosh, there's 1,400 people in here. And then I was like, oh my gosh. And it just kept kind of growing from there. Since then, though, I've decided I picked up my roots and I've been going to this other network marketing business. I am not ever going to pitch you guys on what that is. You're going to have to look. If you want to know what it is, I'll tell you, but you got to look. I'm never going to tell you on this episode or on this show. I'm not going to pitch you. None of that crap. I don't do that. That's not why this show exists. I started this because I wanted to change the industry. And it worked. Anyway, so I say that as a form of safety is my point, meaning I'm not here to pitch you. If you love your thing, stay in it. I'm never going to convince you to leave. I also treat mine like this thing where I'm like, I build it super passive using funnels, getting in front of people who are looking to join something, my whole methods. If you want a crash course on that, again, secretmlmhacksradio.com, put your email in there and you'll be able to see much updated, like really what I do to drive traffic. It's also the series that I'll use to train my own downline members, like just to think a little bit differently. Because I've had people join my stuff, and again, not pitching, I'm just telling you what I do to train my own downline. It's like, because what I used to say, just like everybody else, the first MLM I was in, well, get a list of your friends and family. So one of my buddies was asking me how to grow, and I was like, get a list of your friends and family, let's go do this, and then it wasn't until I started using the internet and kind of like testing out different strategies on how to go grow, that I stopped telling them to go do that, and instead I was like, watch this, here's this training series, here's how to think about it. And so that very same series is what I send people, like at secretmlmhacksradio.com. It's the same series I send my downline. So one of them, there's more than that, but that's like the crash course. So anyway, I'm not trying to sell you on it, but if you see it's valuable at all, it's good. It's some good stuff. So alrighty, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Also on secretmlmhacksradio.com, if there's a topic that you want me to be hitting, if there's something that you're like, I wish that you would go, there's a spot there. If you scroll down to the bottom, that you can ask me a question. I want you to know that I very much appreciate you guys' input and value it. And this is not just Steve saying what he thinks is cool. Like, whatever you guys are needing, I'm also here for you. And part of me being on the show, and I'll end with this, is that I will be documenting the journey of me building my next downline. So, and my goal is always 1,000 people in the downline, without really talking to anybody. I just set systems up, and I call it my hidden downline. I just kind of forget that it's there. So anyway, I'll be documenting the journey of me doing that. So anyway, you guys are awesome, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Oh yeah, that was a good one. Hey, remember to leave feedback for me on iTunes. Part of today's challenge in MLM is knowing how to teach your downline all of this stuff, right? Would you like me to help you teach your own downline 5 simple recruiting tips for free? If so, go download the free MLM Masters Pack by subscribing to this podcast at secretmlmhacksradio.com. The course is free, and it'll help explain to your team what I'm doing and what you're learning. It also gets sent straight to your inbox. Just go download it at secretmlmhacksradio.com.